right, so hi everybody. So this is April Moore, who I just happened upon her looking at her Facebook page, and she is, as she mentioned, a fourth grade teacher, but she has some really wonderful ideas. So what she's going to do today is actually walk through a lot of the ideas that she would have shared to cause engagement with her students during this period of remote teaching, because we're all doing online teaching or remote teaching with our students. So she literally is going to share what she has done, and feel free to ask questions, and she's going to share the templates with you all after the session. So April, over to you.
Ready? Okay. All right. So as she mentioned, I write mysteries for my students a lot, even throughout the year inside the classroom. And for inside the classroom, a lot of time I'll do it as group work. But I actually just wrote one that I mailed out to my students, and that's the one I'm going to kind of focus on and share. And then I'll show you another idea that I can send you the template for. But most of these, you would probably have to just adjust the content to your content, whatever area you're working on. Okay, so I'm going to share the one that we talked about earlier. Okay, so this is Escape from Miss Moore's Virtual Classroom. And I have a novel here that we're actually reading, this novel, and that's where I kind of based it off of. And so what I like to do is go back to either a novel we're reading or some kind of content area that we're working on, and base whatever I'm writing off of that, so they have some kind of background knowledge. So that's kind of your choice how you want to go with that. But you could use this. They wouldn't have had to read this novel to understand this breakout. So basically, I mailed them these packets. And in these packets, they had this letter when they first opened it. And then each clue was folded up and written out. And I numbered them, and I asked them to open their clues one at a time and try to solve that answer. And when they finished all of the clues, they would have a sentence that was the answer to our puzzle, basically. So the way I did it, and you'll have to kind of adjust what you do, but I gave them a clue, and then there was an answer. So for example, this clue right here are the 4 novels that we have read in class. And so I made them kind of go along with all that. And I told them they had to solve this by using letters, and I gave hints. Use the letters to spell a word, like Kyle used the names to make a phrase, and I related that back to the book they're reading. The numbers matched the letters somehow, 4 novels, 4 numbers. And basically for this one, they had to brainstorm, they had to solve, but number 12. So if you count 12 letters in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you get to the H. And so this basically spelled out the word hard. So what I chose to do, and you could, kind of use whatever template works for you. I know that Leanne said that y'all use What's Up, and so you could post a video on there, but I use Loom for my videos, and I was just going to kind of show you on Loom, and I know she said she's talked about Loom before. You can actually password protect the videos, and so for instance, I do this, and I'm really silly with my class, so you'll have to ignore the crazy expressions and the wildness, but I'm trying to get them excited. So I would give them a password, and when they type in hard, they would. You figured out the time was 10:56. Great job. Got your passcode. They would actually see this video of me, and it gives them the next word that they need to complete their sentence. But they cannot get into the video and watch it unless they find the answer to this puzzle. Now, this one was more like a riddle puzzle because that's what our novel's based off of. But you can absolutely use content. So for the next one, their next clue was actually content and using like elapsed time. So I told them something was going to start at 8:30, and then these were the goals they had to accomplish. And if they accomplished all these goals in this amount of time, what time would it be when they finished them all? Well, they had to type in 10:56 into our Loom video and order to get the next word to complete the sentence. And the way I did it, it wound up being that the sentence was hard work always pays off. And so when they got that sentence and they sent me a message, I mailed out a little surprise for them, and that was their reward for finishing their puzzle. So you could kind of go about this different ways. So this clue used math and elimination. Now this was real simple problems here, but I knew it was feasible because the puzzle itself was a little harder. So these numbers just eliminated the names they would not use for the actual puzzle itself. So this is definitely something you could exactly use, but I feel like you may want to look at it, adjust it. When I send out the Google Docs, I'll definitely send it where it's editable and you can just do your own thing with it. You know, kind of use the same thing, make it easy on yourself, but change the content to kind of what fits you. And then I actually sent them, I don't know if y'all have ever seen these little light pens that you can write invisible ink and then turn it around and the light shows the names. You can get them on Amazon pretty cheap. I sent them one of those and I wrote a little clue on the last code that kind of gave them their last word to put that sentence together just for fun. But I hyped it up. My thing with these is really getting them excited about them. And, you know, I sent out a message that said, hey, look in your mailbox, be checking your mailbox. Something big is coming. You may want to just take them to their houses or if y'all have a central drop-off location. But use whatever works for you. But they wanted to do this. They were so excited to get these letters and to work this out and use this knowledge and learn without being pressured to learn. They just wanted to find the answers. I don't know if y'all have questions about what I've kind of said so far. Any questions? Tell me what your thoughts are.
Okay, when you said you sent out the light pens, that's a literal pen?
So it's if you go like if you order on Amazon, do you order things on Amazon? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you just look up invisible ink pens. And they come in, I don't know how many students you have. And I know that's a little bit of a cost for us, but you know, that's almost like something they can keep too, because then they can use it. But it's invisible light pens. And it came in like 25 in a pack.
Okay.
And so I wrote on the actual paper and then they have to use the flashlight to see the words that it says. Does that make sense?
Okay.
It's got a flashlight on one end. And when you write it, though, you have to use the flashlight to write it, or your writing may go on top of each other because you can't see what you're writing either. They're pretty neat, though. The kids really love them.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Let me show you this other one that I've done just for another idea. That one was more, you know, that one I just kind of adjusted for at-home learning. But I also wrote one. This one is, we read also Charlie and the Chocolate Factory earlier in the year. So this is one I did with them in the classroom. And so I based it on The Spies Are Back because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you know, it talks about, and I don't know if the kids there would be familiar with that movie or that book, but even if they hadn't read this would absolutely be one that they could do. But here I used mostly math, but I did parts of a number here for that answer. And then on this one, I did more time lapse, which that's something my students struggle with. So that's something I try to put in pretty often. And then this is also 5 of 25. So it would be percentages. And then here, like clue 4, I actually incorporated some ELA or English language arts, where it was kind of like editing a letter and looking for certain errors and certain capital letters to be able to spell out a word or a sentence or a phrase. And this one, I have all the answers added at the bottom. So if you wanted to use this directly, if this looked like content standards that were really close to your area, the answers are right there at the bottom. I can send you the answers for the other one that we did because, like I said, those are on my Loom links, but I can absolutely do that. So for like clue 5, though, it says that I wanted them to just practice their multiplication, basically. So I actually printed out, I don't know if you know the website mathaids.com, but I use that site a lot for easy printout problems that they can easily have just lots of practice. And then that was their last clue. They had to solve all those problems at the bottom at the end to get their final prize.
April?
Yes.
Would you want them to do one just so they can see what it looks like? Maybe the first clue? They can actually walk through the first clue.
Okay, so on this one or on the other one?
On this one, this one will be fine.
Okay, great.
So they can actually see how it works.
Okay,
From the student perspective.
Right, okay. So, all right, so clue 1. So they would read, Charlie and Mr. Wonka got right back to work after Charlie was given the factory. After all, there was a lot to learn. One day, while working on their newest candy, the Whirlwind, they overheard the news broadcaster say someone was selling hair toffee. Mr. Wonka and Charlie couldn't believe it. As they continued to listen to the news, they found out that 4 other candies had been copied from the Wonka factory as well. Charlie and Mr. Wonka decided that they would need to count several of the candies to see what was missing. Find the parts of the number below and find out how many are missing and the answers together so that add the answers together so that Mr. Wonka and Charlie will have an accurate count. So basically, they had to find out how much is 3/8 of 432. I'm trying to figure out how I could do this one for virtual. So let's say they got all these answers here from clue 1 correct. Once they got them correct, they could either go to a Loom video. You could share the link on WhatsApp. That's what I did. I went to my Google Classroom. That's maybe what you were wanting me to show them, huh, Lan? Sorry. This is my Google Classroom here. So they had a Just for Fun challenge posted on their Google Classroom. And their package, and they figured out the answers to clue 1, they would watch my videos like I showed you earlier. Okay, and every time they watched the video, that was a word in the sentence or in the final puzzle solving clue. So hard work always pays off. So I had 4 different videos that said one of the words. And then when they put that entire sentence together and messaged me with it, that's when they could open their final prize or reveal their final reward. You know, you could even do something like, if you don't want to send them something, like for my students, for this particular one, I actually sent them medals because we had done a famous Mississippian research project that we wrote in school, and they had to actually perform it and record it and send it to me from home. And so their medals were in there, and it was in an envelope that said, "Last, do not open until your puzzles are solved." And so when they finally finished solving the puzzles, they could open their last reward. Now, that also costs some money. So, you know, if you're trying to do this where it's not always everything costing money, you could do something, in my opinion, as simple as have a dance party on Zoom one night with your whole class. You know, invite them to a Zoom party, and that could be your last clue. You've solved the clue. Here's your link to the Zoom dance party on Thursday at 5 o'clock. You know, and then they would enjoy that, and it's something that maybe wouldn't cost so much money. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, I like the dance party.
I mean, that's a good reward that would be cost efficient, you know. But you could come up with anything, any idea, you know, something
April,
that
you could share. If
yes?
you could share what you told me about the stars.
Okay,
Reflection of the stars by the class.
Okay. Oh, well, okay. So I do those kind of things. That's what I like to do, is just find ways to motivate them to want to learn. So one thing that I did with my class over the last 2 weeks is I posted on Google Classroom. I said, all right, guys, we're going to start earning stars. You can earn stars for the entire classroom, because we know some students do a little more, but would encourage everybody to be really participating. And I offered either an extra math problem or an extra chapter in reading in the book and an extra detail of the chapter. And I would put little extras on all of my assignments and say they're not required, but here's something you can do to go above and beyond what I'm expecting. And if you do that, you will earn a star for the whole class. When our classroom, which my class consists of 21 students, earns 100 stars, and you would have to kind of think about your numbers, because you wouldn't want it to be super easy, but you wouldn't want it to be something that took a long time either, because you want it to be an achievable goal for your students. And the other way I told them, I said, your parents can also, because that's one thing I'm very big on, is communication with parents. Your parents can also message me and say, my child has been working super hard. They have really stepped up. I haven't had to make them do their work. And I will add a star for that, for a compliment from your parents as well. So I kept a little notebook, and actually I have it right here. I kept a little notebook, and I would put down different ways that they earn stars. And so I would tally it up, and every day in Google Classroom, I would say, oh, we're up to 45 stars. Keep going. Keep earning those stars for your classmates. And I would even give shout outs to some of them, like so-and-so earned a star because they did this and this and this for a classroom. And when we get to 100, all I told them was something big was going to happen. They didn't know what, but they didn't care, because I said it will be big. And I just made a big deal of how big it was going to be when they got to 100 stars. So they really worked hard, and in 2 weeks, they earned 100 extra stars. And last night, I had what I call egg Russian roulette, and I wrote up like 50 or 60 review questions from the entire school year. It was social studies, math, English, whatever, all the content we had reviewed. And I went outside, and I had this board, and I had Miss Moore versus 4th grade. And I said, all right, guys, I'm going to ask you review questions. If you get them right, you get a point for our class. If you get them wrong, I actually gave them 2 shots. So if one student got it wrong, the next student could try to answer. It was a Zoom class review. And if that person got it right, they would get a point. But if 2 people in a row missed it, the point was mine. So at the end, for every 5 points they were above my points, I would smash an egg on my head. And it may be raw and it may be hard boiled. And I had 12 eggs, and I had my husband rearrange them and number them, so I was not cheating. And I said, okay, pick a number, and that's the number egg I'm going to smash. And I would show them on the camera, and I smashed all these eggs on my head, and we just had the best time, and everybody wanted to be there. They had no idea that we were going to have to answer review questions. They just knew something big was going to happen. And the other way that I really hyped it up was I told them it was going to be messy. You know, because they like messes. So I was like, it's going to be big. It's going to be messy. It's going to be you versus me. Bring your brain power. And that's all they knew. And so everybody did all they could to join that Zoom meeting, because who wouldn't want to see their teacher get messy, right? So whatever, you know, and they were answering those review questions. And even if they didn't know them, they were hearing the answers again, because I would always give them the answer. So it was a really good end of the year review, and the kids, and I even told them they can invite their parents and their aunts and uncles and grandparents. And so I had people watching that weren't even in the classroom. And I told them, I said, y'all can play along, just don't unmute. Y'all can play along to see if you know 4th grade knowledge, you know, like, are you smarter than a 5th grader? So we had a great time, and it was something the whole family could be involved in, which is even better. I mean, as far as I'll share the links with the mysteries, but I write them a lot. And I know it takes time, but once you write them, you've got them from year to year. Because most of the time you teach the same content from year to year. So if you write one that really more fits your classroom and what they're familiar with, because if you haven't read these novels, you can still use them, absolutely, but they may not relate to them as much. So like, if you'll notice when you get the copy of Virtual Classroom, Miss Moore's Escape from Miss Moore's Virtual Classroom, I actually did that in the classroom last year, and they really had to escape from my classroom. And so I had to really adjust it, because it's not the same as sending it to them. But if you'll notice at the bottom, it says, and you may not want to put this because they'll like have no idea, but it says, hurry before time runs out. I don't think anyone brought any extra underwear. And I put that because my kids in the book, it says, it focuses, there's like a little saying on that. And it also says balloons. There must be balloons. The reason why it says that is because that's one of the main ideas of the story when Kyle writes this letter. So some of the things that I wrote, although I can share it with you, it may not make sense to your students if they have not read that novel. Which, of course, it's a good novel. If I like it, I don't know if your students would, but it's a good novel. And it's actually a 5th to 7th grade level novel. So I actually record the chapters for my students and then send it to them so they can listen as they follow, for the ones that need that extra assistance. And I don't really know. I'm just sitting here brainstorming, but I can look at what I have. Some of it I actually have on file in my classroom, and they're not typed up because I just got to where I was really doing a lot more on the computer as far as having things typed up and ready. Right. But I'll be sure I can go through my files and just share with Leanne, and then you can share with them whatever I have. I mean, it's all Google Docs, so it's also easy to be adjusted.
Any ideas coming out, the teachers who are watching, anything sparking that you may want to brainstorm together? I mean, when I just talking to April, she makes me feel excited, like I want to go into her classroom. And as I said, on her page, Inspiring Teachers, her Facebook page, she normally shares all these ideas. So
yes, so if you do things like this, share them on that page, because that's why I started that page, was more so that teachers, because we're creative and we have fun and we want our kids to get excited, but sometimes we don't know what to do next. And the kids wanting to come to school and being motivated themselves because they're having fun, that's what's going to get them to learn, especially right now in this environment. But you also have to hype it up with them. You know, in my opinion, any of this that you do has to be like, let them know I am so excited. Like, and when they see your excitement, make a video and send it to them, you know, and be like, this is what's coming, get ready. And you know, they'll want to do it. It'll be work, but they'll be motivated to do it because there's some kind of prize. And like I said, you can make it cost efficient, the dance party. the kids would love that. And you just find some music and turn it up and put a Zoom on, and everybody gets to watch each other dance and have fun, you know, or do a trivia night or do a game night virtual online. I don't know if y'all saw this. There's actually a way, I saw something the other day where you can actually, you know, you can change your name on Zoom, and you could have everybody put just the first letter of their name in the box and then change their faces to that black silhouette, like just where they don't know who it is, and then play Boggle. I don't know if y'all ever played Boggle, but it's a word game, and they have to come up with so many words using just the one letter that's on the screen. So that's another fun way. You could have like a game night and do something like that with the kids.
So Miranda, you want to unmute your mic and tell us what you caught? I don't know. We could always review very quickly.